We all have discussed issues of agriculture here in the West, but what does the rest of the country think about it? Today on the County Seat, we'll have a one-on-one conversation with Zippy Duvall, who is a Georgia dairy farmer. He is also a former county commissioner and currently serves as president of the American Farm Bureau. We will talk to Zippy as he concludes a two-day tour looking at issues of public lands, waters of the U.S., the impacts of wild horses and prairie dogs on Utah's agricultural community. We'll also find out what he thinks about things that have been done right as he took a tour of the welfare system of the LDS Church. We'll find out all of that on the County Seat. Welcome to the County Seat this morning. I'm your host, Chad Booth. We are pleased to have for our guest today, President of the American Farm Bureau, Zippy Duvall. Zippy, thank you for joining us here. And appreciate you taking the time to talk with us today.
I appreciate the opportunity.
So you've been touring Utah for the last couple of days. Describe to me what the biggest differences are you see between running a dairy farm in Georgia and running a dairy farm in Utah.
Well, it may be hot in Utah, but it's a dry heat, and when Georgia, when it's hot, it's a very humid heat, and there's a lot of difference when cows can, how they act and how they can handle the weather between the difference of the two.
What is a typical dairy farm day like in Georgia?
Well, in Georgia, I spent 30 years dairying there, and grew up as a child dairying there. So there you get up early. I was one of the dairymen that liked to milk. And I always milked the morning milking by myself. So I'd get up about 3 o'clock every morning, walk the cows up. I was not one to ride something or do anything else. I'd just walk them up, and that was the most peaceful time of the day. And we'd milk, go in, have a little breakfast, come back out, work the rest of the day, and milk in the afternoon, and go do something with the family, and go to sleep before you sit down at night. So, and that's pretty much what the day was like.
What I would like to find out is, what was your impression of Utah before you got here? I mean, obviously some of the issues that we've talked about on this program before, and you've talked with Randy and Ron and some of your other associates you've met through the years. What was your impression before you got here? What did you think you were going to see on this tour?
Well, I'm really on a mission. As being president of the American Farm Bureau, one of my goals is to go to other regions of the country and see how the issues that are facing agriculture, how they're facing their local farmers, so that I can talk to them, see it with my own eyes. And when I'm on Capitol Hill, I can share that with congressmen and senators, and I can do it in a way that I can bring the reality of the farm to them through my voice, and that's my mission. My perception of agriculture here in Utah was I assumed that there'd be a lot of big dairies. I thought there would be sugar beets here, knowing that there were sugar beets north of the state line up in Idaho. And then I knew there'd be a lot of beef cattle. I didn't know anything about the turkey population here. I didn't know anything about how big the beef cattle was here. I did know that there was a lot of federal lands. I didn't know there was as much as there is, and I knew there were issues, and I wanted to learn about those issues.
Good. Well, now that we've got your perceptions on what you saw when you came in, we'll take a time and turn our attention when we come back to what your reality is once you saw it, and talk about some of those differences. And so you're watching the County Seat. We will be right back after this commercial break.
149 million years in the making, dinosaurs once roamed this land. Now they're found at the Dinosaur National Monument. Let's take you beyond the bones. We call it Dinosaur Land. You'll find it offers adventures and sights not seen anywhere else in the world. Come to Dinosaur Land, Vernal, Utah. You'll want to stay forever. The dinosaurs did.
What would you do with an extra day in Utah Valley? Explore the Wasatch Mountains? Snap a family photo at Bridal Veil Falls. Cool off on Utah Lake or the Provo River. No matter what you're searching for, you can find it in Utah Valley. Bring everyone together.
Shopping in Davis County has never been better. Experience Station Park, Northern Utah's premier gathering place for shopping, dining, and entertainment. With over 100 shops, Station Park is something for the whole family. Or explore the shopping possibilities this season under one roof at the Layton Hills Mall. Both are conveniently located north of downtown Salt Lake, just off I-15. Come take advantage of special discounts and a wide selection of stores. Visit playindavis.com for more info.
Welcome back to the county seat. We are talking with Zippy Duvall, president of the American Farm Bureau, who's joined us for our half-hour conversation. So you got a road tour today in some of the most challenged parts of the state of Utah. Give me your impression about the wild horse issue.
Well, you know, I didn't really know what I was going to see, whether I was going to see them. You know, you see it on TV sometimes, these wonderful wild horses running through this green grass and running through rivers. I did not see that. I saw a lot of horses in a very small area with very little to eat because they're overcrowded, with very little water because they have trampled their water source and ruined their water source. And it's all because of mismanagement and undermanagement by the federal government of that herd. And there's a lot more animals there than what should be. And that's what I saw. And it was very disturbing to me to know that our federal government, if they're going to take on the responsibility and say only so many animals can be on this federal land, that they should be able to maintain that number, and they should be able to allow those animals to take care of themselves.
How hard is it going to be to actually move that needle in Washington to get them to see this issue differently?
Well, you know, what moves Washington is their constituents. And, you know, everyone has a love affair with animals, whether it be their dog, and they have this love affair of that horse is running through the wild and taking care of itself and just free. The reality is, though, that's not what is happening. When you let them run free and you don't manage them, they overpopulate themselves. They're mean to each other. There's no way they can take care of themselves because they overgraze the land, and not just overgraze it. They actually deplete the land to the point that the grass won't even survive and come back when it rains.
Did you see some of that today?
I did. As a matter of fact, I had a hard time identifying what grasses should be out there because there's so many horses, they've eaten it off to a point to where those stands of grasses aren't going to survive.
So, as a person who's been a steward of in the animal husbandry through part of your life, could you operate on rangeland like that?
No, I couldn't. And you know, where I come from, we strip graze. We move our cattle periodically. We never want to eat it to the ground. We want to leave it where it can grow back faster. And we definitely would never overpopulate it. And just as a herdsman and someone that loves animals, wants to take care of them, that's a responsibility of mine to make sure that they're moved regularly and they're not overpopulated. And the federal government wants this responsibility, but they're not fulfilling their end of the bargain.
Well, it seems that the issue always seems to come back to the fact that they can't adopt enough of them. They're spending millions of dollars keeping them and paying people like you that used to run dairy herds to keep horses in different places around the country, and they won't deal with the disposal issue of an excess population. How can you help that understanding, you know, in the power centers of the country from your position?
Well, just recently I had a conversation with Congressman Adderholt from Alabama. He's chairman of Ways and Means, and they're going through the appropriations bill right now, and he's trying to get the horse slaughter inspections funded so that we can go back to slaughtering horses that are not being taken care of, the people can't afford them, or there's overpopulation, and we'd have federal inspectors to be able to inspect that. You know, I come from animal agriculture, and I love every kind of animal there is, and I've spent my life taking care of them. A lot of times I took care of them when I didn't even have time to go take care of my own family, because the animals were my responsibility. And I know what animals are for. They're not to just be pretty and pet and let run free and roam. It's our job to take care of them and manage them, and they're here for a purpose. And they're here for a purpose to feed people with, and to utilize them as working stock. And that's our responsibility as farmers do it. Farmers do it the best of anybody in the world, especially ranchers and farmers of America. And they just need to take the regulation off of them, the burden off of them, and give them the authority to be able to manage those herds, and give them the limitations of what they want the herds to be in, and let the farmers take care of them. They'll do a lot better job than the bureaucrats from Washington will.
Excellent. This is a great place to take a break. You're watching the County Seat. Conversation with Zippy Duvall, President of the American Farm Bureau. We'll be right back.
There is a place where looking out means looking in, where an impression lasting only a few seconds will be imprinted on a life forever, where courage is forged and innocence rediscovered, where remembering is rewarding and forgetting unforgettable. There is a place where truth is felt and where seeing is believing. There is a place.
The Utah Farm Bureau has always been there to fight for the needs of its members, with discount programs on items ranging from vehicles and ATVs to health and wellness. The membership fees aren't big, but the results are. We've been around since 1916, and we're not leaving anytime soon. Utah Farm Bureau. We work for those who work to feed the world.
I'm a Utah's own dairy producer. I care about the health of my animals, and I care about the quality of food we produce.
Because when it comes to providing quality dairy products, I understand the importance of Utah grown and raised.
And the jobs we enjoy are vital, because Utah's Own supports our communities.
As a consumer, I look for Utah's Own products, because Utah's Own is good for me, and it's good for Utah.
Keeping it here at home, Utah's Own.
Welcome back to the County Seat. We are talking with Zippy Duvall, President of the American Farm Bureau today. And you were in the break, we were talking about grazing, because we talked about horses invading the grazing, and you had some thoughts about grazing in the West that's very different than Georgia.
Well, yeah, you know, what I worry about here and what I see here is that we have a federal government and a system that says, you know, there's only supposed to be this many horses on a particular area. And they're supposed to be free and be able to roam. And then the farmer that has that rancher that has that grazing rights of that place, they tell them how many units of animals that they can have on there. And they hold them to it, and they review it every year. And if there's something that's not going to plan, whether the weather's been bad and the grass is short, or whatever the water source might be, there may be some reason they may cut those animal units down. So you could take a farmer and cut him by 25%, cut his income by 25%, but then you look on the other side of the agreement with the wild horses, and the government's not fulfilling their end of the deal, and they could have 3 and 4 times or more of the allotments of horses that are supposed to be there. So they're really farming by a double standard. Farmers are held to a particular standard, whether it be how they treat the land or how many animals are there. And the government has standards that they're supposed to live up to, and they're not living up to it, but the farmers are.
When you're back on your home turf in Georgia, does waters of the U.S. come up very much? Because that's a really big issue out here in the West.
It is becoming more and more a discussion item in our state. Water has been a discussion item for the last 10 years in Georgia, and our farmers have worked hard to start metering the water to be able to justify the use of the water. Not every drop of water that is irrigated on land is 100% consumptive, and we want to make sure that we, in court systems or in a court legal battle, that we can say we know how much water was used on that land and be able to defend our water use there. And we have a lot of water plans that are being built in Georgia to be able to make the state government and federal government understand that our farmers are working to try to be very efficient with their water.
So, have you had a chance to have much of the conversation about waters, the collection system, the Army Corps of Engineers? I know you're with Randy Parker today, and that's one of his best subjects. So,
I think that's later on in our tour. So we spent most of this day looking at the lumber industry, the forest here. Mm-hmm. We flew over the
Dixie or Fish Lake?
Fish Lake.
Fish Lake, yeah.
And absolutely beautiful flight here. And then we've seen the livestock and the horse problem and the prairie dog problem that we saw coming back from the ranch outside of town. So those are the areas we're looking at. And, and I'm really disturbed by seeing the forest land and knowing that at one point in time the federal government could have let the community here in the state go in and remove the beetle trees and possibly have saved that forest. And now you're looking at a forest that's almost gone. The timber industry in this community is gone. The loggers and families are having to do something else or have left. And that is just very distressing to me. In a country where the general public has this romantic thoughts and memories of rural America, and what a great place it is. They don't really understand how difficult it is to live in rural America. So they're always wanting to see rural America to be alive and thriving. The best way for rural America to be alive and thriving is for us to have good policies around agriculture. And when we do something in the policy venue that helps agriculture survive and thrive, it makes rural communities survive and thrive. We are the economic engine of rural America. And I think that most, or maybe all Americans, are really interested in seeing the rural America survive.
There is a faction, though, that is just engaged, particularly out here in the West, at telling us to wake up, put on big boy pants, and move on to tourism, because agriculture and traditional rural values like logging are not going to help people, and that they are a dead industry. But on the other hand, it looks like the regulations might be killing them. What's your take on that?
Tourism comes, when someone tours a spot to come and see it, and they want to see it at its best, and farmers and local government, being county and state government, are the ones that know their community, and they know how to keep their community at its best where people want to come and visit it. You know, we need to take care of our forest, whether it be beetle or whether it be tree management, whatever it is. We do prescribed burns in our community in Georgia. We want to make sure that that fuel underneath there is gone so that the people living in the community aren't threatened by fire. The things that we do in agriculture helps the natural resources. It helps our community, and it makes it beautiful and makes other people want to come and visit it. So agritourism will not thrive without agriculture being strong in rural America.
So in your tenure, you served time as a county commissioner. So you understand the plight of some of the county commissioners that out here. How much more difficult would it be for you in Georgia if you had 2/3, or in some cases 90% of your county's lands tied up by the federal government that didn't really respond to you?
It'd be very difficult. Now, even in my county, there's 83,000 acres of national forest in my county. But those forests have been managed over the years, and that forest is beautiful, and a lot of people come to have recreation in the forest and also to hunt the wildlife in the forest. So, but even in that case, we have over the years, the management of those forests is beginning to deteriorate because they're not wanting to cut the diseased trees and they're not wanting to do certain things. As a county government, as a public official, we depended on the sale of the timber in lieu of taxes, where the farmers were out there paying taxes per acre, so many dollars per acre. We'd have to wait until the federal government sold that timber to get a tax off that timberland. So when you have a lot of federal lands, whether it be national forest or whether it be grazing lands, it is very difficult for a county government to survive and continue to keep their communities thriving.
Let's change subject for a minute. Something that maybe you had a different shade of not being so much of a problem. He actually had an opportunity to tour the welfare system of the LDS Church. What did you think about that?
I was totally impressed. You know, coming from the South, I'm a Southern Baptist and very proud of it and love my Lord. But I also found that the church here is very much in love with their Lord and Jesus, just like I am in my faith. But the system that they've built around the welfare system, I think our federal government could learn a lot of things if they come and witness what I witnessed yesterday. I have so much admiration for the faith that they provided not only for poor people and not only for people that are underprivileged and in and outside of their church and all over the world, which is a mission that all of us that believe in Christ should carry in our heart.
What was your biggest surprise?
My biggest surprise was how organized it was. It was so organized, so self-sufficient, and the other thing that really blew me away was that there's so many people that are of faith that want to serve other people, but they don't know where to go to do it. This faith that I saw yesterday has a system where if I wanted to serve, they had a place for me to serve.
In fact, they have an opening for you right now if you want to go back before you go home. Anyway, we're going to take a break here on the county seat. We'll be back in just a minute.
There's a little place on a Utah map where I was raised, where my heart's at, where the sagebrush grows wild and high, and the stars come out at night. Oh, there ain't nothing like being raised in the basin with a Ute reservation, skiing starvation, that Duchesne County life.
Kanab, base camp for your southern Utah adventures. You belong in Kanab.
Color. It's something that can be seen. But have you ever wanted to reach out and touch it? Experience it. In San Juan County, Utah, color comes to life like nowhere else on earth. Color can be more than an abstract. Color can be your gateway to a new world. Visit San Juan County and explore the past, present, and future in a way that you've only dreamed of. San Juan County. Color your experience.
Let's be honest, you don't know much about Beaver County. Well, let me tell you about it. It's the birthplace of outlaw Butch Cassidy and inventor Philo T. Farnsworth. Some of the best skiing in Utah is at Eagle Point. You've got camping, Canyon Breeze Golf Course, Crusher and the Tushers, Beaver Territorial Courthouse, snowmobiling, renewable energy, Pioneer Car Show, Squeaky Cheese, ghost towns to explore, best water in the country, Paiute ATV trails, Old Frisco Kilns, horse races, hunting, fishing, and it's a good place to live. Beaver County, mountains of fun. I could tell you more, but why don't you come and see it for yourself?
Welcome back to the county seat. We are talking today with Zippy Duvall, president of the American Farm Bureau. Joining us, the president of the Utah Farm Bureau, Ron Gibson, dairy farmer also from Weber County. So I did want to bring Ron in to talk about the relationship between the state and the American Farm Bureau, and you each have a perspective on it. So Ron, let's start with you. How does Utah rely on the American Farm Bureau? How does that networking work?
Well, first of all, to explain that, the Farm Bureau is a grassroots organization that starts on the county level. So our county farm bureaus come together and they surface issues that are important to the counties. And then the state farm, they're members of the State Farm Bureau. The State Farm Bureau helps deal with issues in the state. And then the State Farm Bureau is members of the American Farm Bureau. So as we do that, the American Farm Bureau is there to help us with these issues that are broader than our state. And a lot of these federal lands issues are things that we definitely need the help of the American Farm Bureau with.
What kind of power can you bring to the table on some of these land issues? Because I know that, you know, Randy Parker and the officers of the Utah Farm Bureau have made many trips to Washington, and sometimes with only limited success. So what does the American Farm Bureau bring to that?
Well, our American Farm Bureau membership is about 6 million family members across the country, and they are the strength and the power of this organization. What we bring is assistance to them. I really describe Farm Bureau as a vehicle. We're a vehicle to get the farmers and ranchers to the right place to tell the story, and in their absence, we do it for them. That's why it's important for me to come and talk to them and see their issues. If you're a Farm Bureau member, you have someone at your State Farm Bureau that's outside actively lobbying for your issues that you put forward in your policy. And then on a national level, we have almost 20 lobbyists on staff there that specialize in particular issues like waters of the U.S., immigration, all kinds of different issues out there. So it's important for a member to know that they have somebody watching their back, and that's our job. And then when the issue comes up and comes to Capitol Hill, we'd rather have a farmer there sitting testifying on Capitol Hill than myself or one of the staff. But in their absence, we can do it for them.
So I've been asking Zippy through the entire show today, you know, what was the one thing that surprised him about today? You've been on this tour for the last 2 days. What's the thing that surprised you about Zippy and having him here?
Well, I think that as I've looked at this whole thing through Zippy's eyes, this is stuff that we've seen today that are very different than maybe he'd see in the eastern part of the United States. And they're real issues, and they're important to Western agriculture, and especially to Utah. And I know that by having Zippy here, it's going to help us to have the American Farm Bureau better understand our issues so that we can really make a difference in Washington.
Excellent. Both of you, thank you so much for joining us today. Zippy, if you're ever back out west, you got a seat here on the county seat.
Well, thank you. And I appreciate the people that serve your counties, because I know the sacrifice they make to serve the counties, and they are really good servants.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you for inviting us into your home each week on the county seat. Local government is where your life happens. Be part of it, be involved, and we'll see you next week on the county seat. If you'd like to share this video with your friends, well, you do that right here. If you would like to subscribe to our YouTube channel, you do that over here. If you'd like to interact with us on the county seat, that happens over here. If you want to watch the next episode of the county seat, you can catch it Saturday night at 11 or Sunday morning at 8:30 on ABC4 Good for Utah.